Hi, this is Andy sir. For the last few months, almost every conversation about AI has sounded the same, including the newsletters and podcasts that I did. Things like which jobs will disappear, which industries will shrink, which skills are safe. We are all obsessing over what AI will take away. But today, I want to ask a different question. Instead of asking what AI will replace, let's actually ask when intelligence becomes abundant, what becomes rare? Because history has shown us something very important. When something becomes abundant, it stops being valuable. When something becomes scarce, it becomes sacred. AI is making intelligence abundant. So, what is becoming sacred? Let's begin with something simple. For centuries, access to knowledge defined advantage. If you had access to books, if you had access to networks, if you had access to mentors, if you had access to libraries, you were ahead of others. Education systems were designed to transfer information from those who knew to those who did not. That model made sense in a world of scarcity. But what about today? You can generate essays in seconds. You can write code with minimal assistance. You can analyze markets quickly. You can draft contracts easily. You can simulate strategies. You can create personalized practice systems. I think I call it, like I said in an earlier podcast, the floor is raising. AI is raising the floor. Information is no longer the differentiator. Even technical intelligence is being augmented. So the real competition shifts upwards. The question is who is raising the ceiling? Let's talk about professions first. Not industries, not domains, but roles. In the age of AI, certain professional roles quietly become more valuable. Not because AI cannot assist them, but because AI cannot carry their burden. The first is the decision maker. AI can actually simulate 10 possible futures. It can calculate probabilities. It can optimize for outcomes. But someone must choose. And more importantly, someone must live with the consequences. AI does not carry responsibility, humans do. So, in the future filled with AI, analysis will be automated, but judgment under uncertainty will become rare. So, decision making authority becomes sacred. Now, let's talk about the second role. The second role that rises the floor is the curator. When content becomes infinite, selection becomes powerful. AI can generate 1,000 ideas, but who decides which idea represents your brand? Which argument aligns with your values? Which strategy deserves implementation? In a world drowning in output, taste becomes currency. Editors, designers, brand builders, institutional leaders, those who all filter wisely will matter more than those who generate endlessly. So, curation becomes sacred. The third role I'm going to talk about is the integrator. AI gives fragments, it gives insights in isolation. But real world problems are messy. Climate change is science plus economics plus politics. AI governance is technology plus ethics plus law. Education reform is psychology plus policy plus culture. So the future will actually belong to those who can connect domains. You can already see these things with a lot of multi-domain courses that are being offered these days. So those who see patterns across fields, those who can synthesize complexity, integration becomes sacred. And now let's talk about the fourth role. The fourth role is a trust anchor. As AI generated content multiplies, authenticity becomes fragile. Deep fakes will improve, synthetic media will explode, noise will increase. In such a world, people will not follow the loudest voice, they will actually follow the most trusted one. Reputation will compound faster than skill. Integrity will become visible faster than performance. Trust becomes sacred. Now that we discussed the four professions that become sacred in the future of AI, post AI world, now let's move on from professions to skills. If intelligence becomes common, which abilities become rare? First, long form thinking. AI optimizes speed, but depth requires sustained attention. Reading a full book, building an argument over 20 pages, holding a complex idea in your mind without distraction. In a scrolling world, sustained thought becomes unusual and rare. So that makes depth becomes sacred. The second skill, public articulation. If everyone can generate ideas, the advantage shifts to those who can defend the ideas. Can you explain your thinking clearly? Can you handle disagreement without emotional collapse? Can you persuade without aggression? Speaking under scrutiny will matter more than typing in isolation. So, articulation is going to become sacred. The third skill, strategic patience. AI compresses time. Everything feels urgent, accelerated, immediate. But real success still compounds slowly. Building a company takes years. Building a career takes decades. Building credibility takes consistency. Those who resist constant pivoting and stay committed in two direction will outperform those who are chasing every trend. So actually patience becomes sacred. Now let's go to the fourth skill, the network capital. When knowledge is free, relationships matter more. Opportunities will increasingly flow through trusted networks, not so much with the regular platforms. Not because information is scarce, but because credibility is scarce. Credibility is rare. So automatically connection becomes sacred. Now let's pause. If these are the professions and skills that rise in the AI era, post AI era, what does that mean for education? It means the old optimization model is outdated. An education system with that only rewards memorization, speed, and standardized answers will produce technically competent but strategically replaceable individuals. The sacred work of education is no longer knowledge transfer, it is capability formation. Not just teaching what to know, but shaping how to choose, but telling how to filter, by guiding how to connect, by mentoring on how to speak, by instilling how to commit. Because intelligence can now be augmented, but character cannot be augmented, but judgment cannot be augmented, and trust cannot be augmented. And here is a quiet realization we all need to have in the post AI world. We are not entering a world where humans become irrelevant. We are entering a world where average intelligence becomes irrelevant. That's very different. The baseline will rise. AI will raise the floor, as I keep saying it. But the ceiling will belong to those who cultivate what machines cannot carry: the clarity, the conviction, the taste, reputation, commitment, and perhaps most importantly, responsibility. This is not a pessimistic moment like many believe to be. It is actually design moment. When the floor rises, the ceiling becomes visible. And what we choose to reverse, cultivate, and defend in this moment will define the next decade. And in fact, I'll say the next generation of human evolution. In the coming editions of Beyond the Classroom, I want to move from philosophy to practice. So I'm going to have newsletter editions on what must schools redesign. I'm going to have a newsletter article on what must parents rethink. I'm even going to talk about what should students prioritize now in the post AI world. Because recognizing what becomes sacred is only the beginning. Protecting it is the real work. So let me say this: whether AI continues accelerating or the hype eventually cools off, the deeper shift remains the same. What becomes rare will define what becomes sacred. And in this new age, what becomes sacred is still in our hands. Thank you all for listening. Let's go beyond the classroom.